What's up, Coach? Anthony Slater with the Athletic. This is such obviously a rare camp for you guys. What is your like as a coach? How do you lay out the game plan going forward the next few weeks? I know you can't even do group until Sunday.
Yeah, it's obviously tricky given the COVID protocols. We're starting out with individual workouts the next few days. Under normal circumstances, we would just be getting right into camp, but we're starting out with 3 straight days of individual workouts where we have literally 1 player, 1 coach, and only 4 players allowed in the gym at one time. So we'll be doing that, and we've been going through testing the last few days, and the testing will continue. So once we are through that phase, then we'll be able to advance through the NBA protocol to advance into group workouts, and then from there we can start in on full practices. So we're just trying to follow the guidelines and do it as best we can, and it's not easy, but it's everybody's got to go through it. So we're just trying to navigate our way through it.
Do you have any, besides Clay, obviously, is there any injury issues entering camp at all?
No. Everybody is good to go.
Steve, we haven't. Hi, it's Janie from AP. Nice to see you. We haven't really heard from you since a couple of these signings, and just some guys who are wanting to come in here and not replace Clay, but come in and do their part and fit in with the group. And will you try to see those guys in the early days a little bit when the groups are small, or what's sort of your plan to get a feel for some of the new faces and just how much they can contribute?
Yeah, so I've been in touch with the new guys already. We met last week in the facility, so I've spoken with Kelly and Brad and our draft picks. I have not seen Kent Bazemore yet, but I spoke with him on the phone. And the plan is to get them acclimated as quickly as possible. We'll be sharing video with them. If we can't do it in person, we'll literally be airdropping video to them. Whatever it takes, in this year, this strange year, we have to do. So for all the new guys, we just sort of have tentative plans. But if all goes according to the NBA protocol, we'll be able to be with these guys early next week, and we can get started and share everything we need to share with them.
Hey, Steve. First off, that's a baller picture you got in the background. And second, how do you, under normal circumstances, it's hard to bring rookies along. But under these circumstances where you only met them in the last month, and now you have to bring them in and to up to speed in the season, how do you coach them under these circumstances and get them along faster than even normal times without a summer league and a traditional type training camp?
First of all, I like your backdrop too. I miss Oakland. So the challenge is we're not able to put in the basics for James and for Nico that we would normally have in terms of summer league and getting guys used to NBA terminology and coverages and that sort of thing. So we have to do everything on the fly, and our challenge is to not overwhelm them, but to give them the right amount of information that will help them to contribute as quickly as possible, and to keep them confident and moving forward without overwhelming them. So that's just going to be a feel thing. But we've already put together our plans for development, and what those plans include. A lot of detail to them, but it's on us to figure out the right dosages as we get started with this training.
Hey, Steve,
Hi,
it's
Steve.
Ann.
Goldberg with Bay Area News Group. With your guys' mix at center, is the goal to determine who starts there by the end of training camp, or is that something you feel like you might experiment with in preseason and even maybe in the regular season?
Yeah, I'm not even thinking of it in those terms. Obviously, we have multiple options with Looney and Marquise and James. So we anticipate all three of them playing. And as always, we'll figure out, who starts and who plays in what role as we go.
How many starting spots would you say are secure going into camp? 3? I mean, I would assume at least 3.
Probably 4. I mean, it would be hard for me to not see Kelly and Andrew starting on the wings. Obviously Steph and Draymond will be starting. So more than likely 4. I suppose there's a chance as we get a glimpse of everything that we might decide we need to change the rotation, change the starting group. That's always a possibility. But my mindset going into this season is that those 4 guys would be in our starting group, and then we'll see with the center spot.
Hey, Steve, it's Ann. Oh,
Go ahead.
Steve, I know you're probably following all of the stuff happening in terms of with the 49ers and everything, and I'm just wondering what your optimism is about the season starting on time, on how things are going to go. Obviously, the NBA got great praise for how it handled the bubble, but this is a whole different thing, unbubbled and in the teeth of the pandemic.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, we can't control the environment like the league did with the bubble. So we're going into this thing with our eyes wide open. I talk every day with Rick and Bob about our COVID protocols and the latest updates from the league and latest update from our training staff and what's happening. And so as far as my confidence level, I'm confident that the league is going to do everything in their power to do things the right way and to protect us, to protect the players and the staffs. And then who the hell knows? I mean, it's 2020. So I think we just have to go into it with an open mind and do our best and see what happens.
Thanks.
Hey, Steve. I'm curious if you. Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good. I'm curious if you've had the opportunity to check in with Clay recently and just how he's holding up mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, we've talked a couple of times. I went down there, the day after his injury, and so I was with him when he got the diagnosis from Dr. Ferkel, Rick Celebrini. I went down there, and then we've texted since then quite a bit. And he's hanging in there. It's obviously a devastating blow for Clay. I mean, as much as he loves to play, and as much as he was looking forward to getting back to this season, it's just a cruel twist of fate for him to have to go through this again. So we'll just keep checking in on him. I know his teammates are checking on him, and we hope that before too long he'll be able to be back up here with his teammates, and we'll get him in here to start his rehab, and he can at least be part of the group, and that's the plan. But more than anything, we all just feel devastated for him because he deserves better.
Steve, I expect a glowing compliment about my background before your answer, but I wanted to know how you plan on managing Steph's minutes. You've always been pretty protective of your stars and keeping them down. Does that remain consistent, or because he's your, I guess, primary scorer, you might increase that a little bit?
Well, the objective going in would be to keep it around.
Wait. What happened to the background compliment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were complimenting me on my background.
No, I was saying I expect a glowing
Marcus.
background compliment on my background since Logan got one. You know,
Why you hate?
Yeah. Just leave Logan out of this, Marcus. I will compliment you on it's either a scarf or the underneath side of your hood. I like the colors in there. Yes.
it's the inside of the hood. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I like that.
I'll settle for that. I'll settle for that.
Okay. I can't see the quality of the books that you have on your shelf well enough to be able to compliment on that. So
That's by design.
What do we get? Okay, all right. Ethan Strauss. Yeah.
No. This is Marcus Thompson. Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna skip you.
Marcus Thompson. Sorry, we're wasting everybody's time here.
That's the go.
Where were we? Yeah. So I think the idea going in would be try to keep his minutes around where they've been. It's probably going to be more difficult. I mean, we've always been really blessed with great talent and the ability to give our starters a lot of rest. We've been blessed over the years to have a lot of blowouts where Steph didn't have to play the fourth quarter. Same with Draymond and Clay and KD, and we don't have that luxury anymore. So, I would love to keep his minutes down, at the 34 range. And we know that that's the best thing for him and for us long term, and that's going to be the goal. So feel free to take shots at me when we have a triple overtime game and I leave him out there for 51 minutes.
Is 40 even reasonable? Would you ever push that to average to 40, or is that just way too much?
40 is reasonable. I just think I think 40 for anybody is difficult. Especially these days, the pace that the game is played with. I think it's realistically to get the best out of Steph and most players really, game to game, and as the whole year goes, you'd like to keep guys in that 34 to 36 range.
Hi, Steve. Wes again. With Jordan Poole, you've mentioned a few times how impressed you've been with his work over the summer. You kind of experimented with him on the ball a little bit toward last year. Do you see him more as a point guard or a shooting guard at this point?
I think Jordan's a combo. I don't think he's a pure point guard. I think he's a combo guard, a guy who can play on or off the ball. I thought he played really well down the stretch last year, but it was more as a secondary playmaker. We still would like to play him with another ball handling guard, but he fits the way we like to play, which is that, everybody's capable of making a play, and the ball is going to move. So biggest thing with Jordan, he's had a great offseason. He's been our most consistent worker. Just day in and day out, he's been at Chase working with our coaches. He's put the time and the effort in. He's really earned the right to play and get his opportunity. I think he's earned some good fortune, and I hope that the basketball gods reward him accordingly, because he's done everything possible to put himself in position to succeed.
Hey, Coach. Paolo Turno, San Francisco Chronicle. How do you see your offseason acquisitions maybe changing how you approach your playing style? Do you think getting out in transition will be even more paramount with guys like Wiggins and Oubre in the fold?
Well, I'm excited, first of all, to have everybody together. Obviously, we were really hoping to have Clay, and we felt like, putting that whole group together, we had the elements for a really good team, and we still feel we can be a good team. I mean, it's hard to lose Clay and realistically sort of try to figure out how good we can become. So I'm not really into predictions or anything, but I do like the concept of what we have, the length and athleticism that we have at every position. I think we have potential to be an excellent defensive team, and that will be our challenge. I'll challenge the guys from day one that we want to be a top 10 defensive team. And so training camp will largely be centered around our defense. Offensively, we'll figure it out as we go. But I've always found if you have a good defensive team, then you have your foundation, and it's much easier to build from there. If you can't get stops, you're just kind of running around in circles. And I remember a game last year where I think D'Lo hit like 7 threes in the first half. I think we scored 70 points, 68 points. It was one of the most incredible offensive displays I've ever seen in an NBA game from both teams. And I think we were down 4 at the half. We ended up losing by 20. And, that game was a good reminder to me that no matter how well you shoot it, no matter how efficiently you score it, when you can't make stops, you just can't really get any traction in the game. So to me, our whole identity has to be based on our defense. We got to get stops. We got to establish ourselves as a defensive team first, and then the offense we'll figure out as we go.
Hey, Coach.
Along those lines, Steve, do you envision Kelly Oubre playing that Clay role of hounded point guards, especially with his wingspan?
I do. Yeah. I've had a chance to speak with some of Kelly's former coaches, Willie Green and Monty Williams in Phoenix. I spoke with Scott Brooks, and all of them have really raved about Kelly. He's really well liked by his former coaches, which is a great sign. Scotty told me he felt like Kelly was at his best on the ball. And I know we all remember him, as Warriors fans and coaches and players. We remember him for his feistiness a couple of years ago when he got into it with Draymond and Clay. I think he's got a toughness about him. He's got the length to be a defender, and he's got the ability on the ball to hound people. And so I envision us using Kelly quite a bit on the ball. I imagine putting Steph on the ball as well, and even sliding Andrew onto the point when it calls for it. I think we can mix and match and have a lot of options defensively, and we plan on using those options.
Hey, Coach. Colin Ward-Henning from CBS Sports. Good to see everybody again. I'm just wondering, I know last year didn't go the way you wanted to record-wise. Did you learn anything in terms of, adjustments in lineup and style of play that could possibly help you heading into another season where you're not, having the guys that you might have thought you had going into the year?
I think the main thing we learned last year, Colin, is just kind of individual and strengths and weaknesses. So I have a much better feel for Eric Paschal and Jordan Poole and Marquise Chris and those guys, going into camp. Juan and Mike Mulder, same thing. So I don't think I will take a whole lot else in the season. We're not coming into this year thinking a whole lot about last year. We'd like to forget about last year, but having the knowledge of our players, our new players from last year, will be very helpful in terms of trying to fit them into the puzzle.
Hey, Coach.
Steve,
You want to
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. How you doing? I wanted to follow up about Clay. You mentioned that everybody's understandably devastated still. Specific to Steph and Draymond, how tough do you think it'll be to get them emotionally up, given that this is now the second year in a row where they're playing without him?
Well, I think it'll be easier than last year. I mean, last year was difficult for a number of reasons. The injuries were really difficult, but so was just the rebound off of 5 straight years of deep runs and emotional seasons. I feel like Steph and Draymond are going to have great years for us. I've spoken with both of them. in the last, spoke to Draymond this morning, spoke to Clay or to Steph last night. I've kept in touch with them during the summer. They are basketball players. They love to play. They're competitors. They've had a long time off, and so I think they're ready to compete again. The basketball part is going to be tougher just because we've got a lot to work on and a lot to figure out. Before last year, we were on cruise control in a lot of ways. We knew exactly who we were for 5 years. So we could come into camp and kind of ease our way into it. And by opening night, we were pretty much ready to roll. There's a lot more work that's going to have to go into it this year with all the new players, without Clay. So there's work ahead, but there's an excitement for competing again from those two guys. There's definitely a hole with Clay not being there. There's a hole in the lineup, and there's a hole in our hearts just because he's such a huge part of who we are. And those three guys really are the core of this whole thing, what's been built here over the last 7-8 years. So that part is going to be really tough for Steph and Draymond to get past. It'll be hard for all of us to get past, but we have no choice but to do so.
Hey, Coach. Kylan with Cron 4. Nice to see you. I don't know if you've seen it all, but ESPN put out their projections for this season. They have the Warriors sitting at the bottom of the Western Conference, averaging 31 wins is their prediction. But I know you guys would like to forget about last year. Still, do you have any sense of like an underdog mentality heading into this season? Or, I think there's just a lot of people underestimating the Warriors' potential after Clay's injury was announced. And, is that any source of extra motivation at all?
I don't think we really need any extra motivation right now, given that we had the worst record in the league last year. We're coming off a horrible season, so we want to bounce back and have a good year. And everything else, we're sort of used to, the noise, whatever you want to call it. There's part of this job is just the expectations, the judgment, the criticism, the praise. It all lumps into one thing, and it doesn't really mean anything for us as we get started with training camp.
Two more questions for Coach.
How important do you think it's going to be to get Wiseman on the court with Steph and Draymond, particularly for a young rookie trying to learn you guys, and in a lot of ways you guys are Steph and Draymond?
Yeah, I mean, it's important for us to get James on the court, period. But obviously with Steph and Draymond, given that, our bread and butter offensively is the Steph Draymond pick and roll. And when he's on the court with those guys, he's got to learn the spacing. He's got to learn to get to that dunker spot and be on the backside of and understand his role in those circumstances. And then at the other end of the floor, Draymond is going to be anchoring the defense, and he's got to be Draymond's partner ultimately. Looney learned over his first couple of years, he learned the ropes at the 5. Looney is going to be so much more advanced than James will be defensively. So James has a lot to catch up on, but James's potential athletically is so dramatic that I imagine he'll have a chance to step in and help us because he's so athletic and dynamic. But there's a ton to learn, and he doesn't have the value of a summer league and a whole summer of workouts. So a lot to catch up on in every respect. So we just got to do our best, and I'm excited for James, but also want to preach caution for everybody not to expect too much too soon, because we're just throwing him right into the fire. And he played 3 college games, so he's got a lot of things to learn.
All right, let's go to Monty Poole and then Kareth to wrap it up.
Steve, how do you feel about your depth in terms of? I know last year obviously it was a whole different year, but in your glory years, depth was a crucial element. How do you feel about what you have now, and what do you need from those guys?
Yeah, I think on paper we would appear to have pretty good depth. We've signed some veteran guys who know how to play, who have been successful in this league. You talk about Brad Wanamaker and Kent Bazemore. You think about what Marquise and Eric Pascal did last year, Jordan at the end of the year. We have some players who we feel like can absolutely fill roles, and if you look at it, there's a pretty good roster there to have the depth that we need. But it all has to fit together, and the pieces have to fit, and we've got to find the right rotations and patterns and all that stuff. So there's a lot of work ahead, but it is exciting to think about what we're working with this year.
Quick follow. Do you feel you'll have to toggle Steph and Draymond to keep one of them on the floor at all times?
No, not necessarily. I think we've tried that in the past, and it seems like I almost always end up going back to playing them together. I think there's such a dynamic pair offensively, especially together in the pick and roll. My gut would be from the beginning this year to just play them together and then try to find another combination when those two guys are on the bench. It's different. I think if you were talking about Steph and Clay, then I would say yes, because I think you need to keep a score on the floor all the time. But it's different with Draymond, because part of what makes Draymond special is his pairing with Steph offensively and how well they complement one another on the pick and roll. So my gut, as we speak, is to say I'm going to play them together, but obviously we'll see how it all plays out.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to save this question for the end because it's about Steph on social issues. Like this offseason, he did the IG with Dr. Fauci about how people can protect themselves with coronavirus. We saw him wear Breonna Taylor shoes to a golf event. He made a video for the DNC. I mean, as the NBA comes back and the players have their massive platforms returning, do you feel like things have supercharged for Steph, understanding the value of his voice?
I think this has been kind of the natural evolution for Steph over the last couple of years. He's obviously such a socially conscious person. He's done so much over the years to help the Bay Area community and nationally. I mean, one of my favorite things that Steph has done is really started the golf program at Howard. I thought that was one of the coolest things that he's done, with Under Armour, and then you start thinking about it. It's like, oh yeah, he did this, did that, and you can just start checking things off. And he and Aisha have done so many things together to try to positively impact people, and it's really inspiring. And then the thing that I love about Steph is that he's well aware too that all this comes from him being a great basketball player. The power that he holds to impact people in a positive way. The gist of all that comes from him being a great basketball player, and he never gets away from working on his craft, and he's in the gym every single day working so hard, and so he's able to juggle a lot of different things without losing focus on what really triggers all of the things that he's able to do, which is his career, his basketball career.